Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Narcissists aren't just cold-hearted villains twirling their mustaches while burning bridges for fun. That's the Hollywood version. Clean, simple, easy to hate. But the real story? It's uglier. It's messier. It's human. See, most folks imagine that when a narcissist hurts you, when they lie, cheat, manipulate, it's because they don't care, that they're built different, hollow, soulless. And sure, they act like they don't care. Hell, they sell that performance like it's gospel. But the truth? The truth is, they care. Just not the way you think. What's actually going on behind that smug grin and stone-cold stare is a psychological circus of fear, shame, and identity crises. These people aren't made of stone. They're made of shattered glass, held together by duct tape and delusion. They're not strong. They're terrified. Terrified that one day someone's going to see through the act and realize that underneath all that swagger and superiority is nothing. Just a scared little kid who never grew up, desperately clinging to a character they created to survive. And once you see it, once you really see the truth, it's like watching a magician fumble his trick mid-show. The illusion crumbles. And what's left? Panic, rage, denial, desperation. So this ain't some sob story. It's a breakdown of the real cost behind the act. The price they pay after the damage is done. And trust me, it's not zero. You're about to see the side of the narcissist they pray no one ever sees. Let's start with the mask. The mask that eats the face. The narcissist's entire life is one long stage play. But here's the punchline. They wrote the script, cast themselves as the star, and forgot it was all fiction. At first, the mask is just that, a mask. A tool. A way to get admiration, control, influence. A little polish here, a little charm there, and boom, there's someone. They matter. They're special. But the longer they wear it, the more it fuses to their skin. Until one day, they can't take it off because there's nothing left underneath. It's not a disguise anymore. It's who they've become. Oscar Wilde once said, "Give a man a mask and he'll tell you the truth." But with a narcissist, give them a mask and they'll believe the lie. That's the tragedy. Because behind that grin is someone who never did the gritty work of becoming real. No soul searching. No growth. Just shortcuts and smoke and mirrors. They skip the part where people fail and learn and evolve. Instead, they manufactured an identity and convinced themselves and everyone else that it was the real thing. But it's not. It's just paint on a cracked wall. And when that paint starts to peel, the panic sets in. Next up, let's talk about irony, the house of mirrors they built, and why it never feels like home. You got it. No robotic lines, no filler, no hand-holding. Just raw, human truth that punches straight through. Let's roll straight into points 2, 3, and 4, each with its own rhythm, heat, and storytelling weight. A house of mirrors, not a home. You ever walk into one of those carnival mirror rooms? Everything looks warped. Head's too big, legs too short, the whole thing's a joke. That's what living inside a narcissist world is like. They don't build relationships, they build reflections. Every person in their life, just another mirror angled to show them the version of themselves they want to see. Powerful, desirable, untouchable. Not real, not honest, just curated. And the sick twist? The irony that'll slap you sideways? They do all this, manipulate, charm, dominate, because they can't stand feeling unseen. They want connection so badly, but they've built a world that makes it impossible. They chase admiration and end up surrounded by people who love the mask but don't even know the face underneath. They walk through life like kings in a fun house. Mirrors everywhere, but no warmth, no depth, no home. That's the price of the illusion, emotional homelessness. And the worst part? They know it. On some subconscious level, They feel it every time someone hugs them, and they still feel hollow. Every time they're celebrated, and it still doesn't scratch the itch. They've got rooms full of mirrors and not a single window. Let's talk about what happens when the cracks start showing. When the pressure builds. The dam that can't hold. Imagine trying to hold back a flood with your bare hands. Just you, standing there, palms pressed against a dam with cracks, spiderwebbing through the concrete. Water seeping through. Pressure mounting. That's the narcissist's mental state every damn day. Behind the grandiosity, the fake calm, the smug little smirk, they're barely keeping it together. You think they're composed? No, they're scrambling. Because every little moment of resistance, every time someone says no, every time someone sees through them, is another leak. They can't afford to let one drop through. Not one. Because if they admit one truth, one real thing about who they are, the whole thing starts crumbling. The illusion doesn't have a foundation. It's not made of steel. It's made of insecurity, shame, and duct tape. And that's why they're so reactive. You ever wonder why a narcissist flips out over a small critique? Why they attack like you just threatened their life? Because you did. That criticism, that silence, that refusal to play along, it's not just a challenge. It's a crack in the dam. And they know, deep down, they're not strong enough to handle the flood if it breaks. So they do what they always do. Deflect, deny, destroy. But what happens when the flood can't be stopped? That's where silence comes in. Silence, the narcissist's kryptonite. You want to bring a narcissist to their knees? Forget shouting. Forget drama. Just go silent. Seriously, nothing unhinges them faster. Silence to them isn't just uncomfortable. It's terrifying. It's a vacuum where their power dies. See, as long as you're yelling, crying, defending yourself, reacting, you're still in their play. You're still dancing to their music. But when you go quiet, when you look them in the eye and just stop, that's when the panic starts. Because silence is a mirror. And they hate mirrors that don't flatter. Without your energy to feed on, they're stuck with themselves. No script, no audience, just the echoes of who they really are. And that is hell. The Bible says, be still and know. But a narcissist can't be still, because stillness is truth. And truth is a damn guillotine. Your silence strips away their armor. It leaves them naked in a room they've spent their whole life hiding from. And no, it's not because they miss you in a healthy, human way. They miss the supply, the mirror, the control. They don't feel remorse. They feel withdrawal. And it burns like a detox. You stop performing, and suddenly they're not the star anymore. The show's over. Curtain closed. And in that silence, they hear everything they've been trying to outrun. Locked in. We're going deep into the last 3 points. Hard truth, unfiltered storytelling, and that gritty Gary-style rhythm. Let's drag this thing to the bone. The puppet master fears the strings. You ever seen a puppet master slowly get tangled in his own strings? That's what happens to a narcissist over time. They start out pulling all the levers, charming, lying, manipulating like it's second nature. They think they're in control. They think they're running the show. But what they don't see is that the act owns them now. They're not living, they're managing. Constantly. Every word they say, every move they make is calculated. Not for truth, but for effect. Every moment becomes about preserving the illusion. And slowly those strings tighten. The lies they tell to others, they start telling to themselves. The control they crave starts controlling them. They can't stop playing the part because stepping out of character means facing the wreckage. And that's not strength, that's slavery. Psychological slavery to a performance they can't pause. They're no longer the puppeteer. They're the puppet, jerked around by the very illusion they once created. And the scariest part? Most of them have no idea it's happening. They think they're holding the reins. But really, They're dancing for a fantasy that won't let go. And the more they try to control the narrative, the faster it spins out of their hands. Admiration, fear, or fury, just feed me. A narcissist doesn't care if you love them, hate them, or want to throw a chair at them. Just don't ignore them. They feed off intensity, emotion, passion, praise, pity, fear. It's all fuel. If you cry, scream, plead, they win. If you obsess over closure, stalk their socials, try to prove your worth, they win. To them, any emotional reaction means power. You are the battery. You're the generator that keeps their fantasy running. The second you unplug, the lights go out. The grand illusion fades. And they hate that. See, they don't crave connection. They crave control. The moment they can't get a rise out of you, they start feeling irrelevant. And that's the one thing they can't stomach. You ever notice how they provoke just to get attention? How they'll start a fire just to make you scream? That's not confidence. That's desperation in designer clothes. The silence? It stars them. The calm? It chokes them. They can't exist in a space where they're not emotionally dominating someone else's reality. So when you stop reacting, when you become emotionally unavailable, they're not just annoyed. They're lost, disoriented, panicked. Because if you don't reflect their power back to them, they have to face the fact that it might not exist. Dancing on a stage that's burning down. From the outside, it looks like they're thriving. They've got the smile, the friends, the Instagram highlight reel, the charming stories. They seem bulletproof, right? But step backstage and you'll see it. The walls are on fire. The narcissist is performing like their life depends on it, because it does. They've built an identity out of applause, out of attention, out of people clapping for a version of them that doesn't exist. And when you walk away, when the audience leaves the theater, they don't collapse right away. No, they keep dancing, keep smiling, keep saying, "I'm fine." But the stage is burning. Every lie, every manipulation, every fake, "I'm doing great," it eats away at the foundation. The act starts slipping. They snap at friends. They spiral at night. They rage in secret. Why? Because the identity they spent years building is cracking, and they can't patch it fast enough. And the more people who leave, the more the world starts whispering the truth back to them. Not through confrontation, but through absence. That's the part that eats them alive. Not that you screamed, but that you stopped. That you let go without fanfare. That you saw the truth and didn't come back. The silence becomes a spotlight. And in that light, the show ends. The mask melts. The truth walks in. And all that's left is smoke. So now you know. Behind the act, behind the charm, the smirk, the control, there's chaos. A narcissist isn't a powerhouse. They're a fractured soul wearing a rented mask. They manipulate because they're terrified. They dominate because they're empty. And the second you stop reacting, the whole illusion starts bleeding out. They built a house of mirrors, then got lost in it. They're not free. They're stuck, trapped in a role they wrote for themselves. The silence you gave them, that was the loudest truth they've ever heard. And if you've ever walked away from one, good. That silence wasn't weakness. It was your power. Now, if this hit home, hit that like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I want to hear your story. And if you're hungry for more truth bombs, check out the other videos on the channel. Trust me, we're just getting started. Keep your power, and don't ever hand it back.